Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great. If you're preparing for data analytics, business analytics, risk analytics, data science, or even economics-related roles, then understanding econometrics is extremely important. In today's video, I don't want to dive deep into the mathematics. Instead, I want to give you a roadmap of the most important econometrics topics that are frequently asked in interviews and are also extremely useful in the real world. So, without further ado, let's get started. Before jumping into individual topics, it's important to understand what exactly we should focus on. Many students get overwhelmed because there are so many concepts and models available. But if you're preparing for interviews, you don't need to master everything right away. The key is to first build a strong foundation, understand the intuition behind the concepts, and then gradually move towards advanced topics. And that's exactly what we'll be doing in this series. Now, many people hear the word econometrics and immediately assume that it's something very complicated. But honestly, the idea is quite simple. Econometrics is essentially the combination of economics, mathematics, and statistics to understand relationships hidden inside data. Think about questions like: why do sales increase when advertisements increase? How does education affect income? How do interest rates influence inflation? Or why do some customers default while others don't? Instead of relying on assumptions, econometrics helps us answer these questions using data and statistical techniques. At the end of the day, econometrics is all about understanding relationships and making better decisions based on evidence. Now, where do we actually use these concepts? The answer is almost everywhere. Banks use these models to predict credit risk and customer defaults. E-commerce companies analyze customer behavior and recommend products. Marketing teams study whether their campaigns are generating results. Insurance companies estimate risks and determine premiums. Even governments and policymakers use econometrics to understand inflation, unemployment, and economic growth. So, whenever data is being used to understand relationships and make predictions, econometrics is playing a role in the background. Now, if there is one topic that I would strongly recommend every aspiring analyst to master, it is linear regression. You can think of linear regression as the foundation upon which many advanced machine learning algorithms are built. The idea itself is very straightforward. Suppose you want to understand whether more experience leads to a higher salary, or whether spending more money on advertisements leads to higher sales. Linear regression helps us understand how one variable changes with another. In simple terms, it tries to find the relationship between variables and draw the line that best explains the data. And that's why you'll often hear people referring to it as the line of best fit. Even if you plan to move into machine learning later, understanding linear regression will make many advanced concepts much easier to understand. However, building a regression model is only one part of the story. Making sure that the model is reliable is equally important. And this is where the assumptions of linear regression come into the picture. These assumptions are among the most frequently asked topics during interviews. For example, we assume that the relationship between variables is linear. We assume that observations are independent of each other. We expect the residuals or errors to follow a normal distribution. And we also expect the variance of these errors to remain relatively constant. If these assumptions are violated, the model may still produce results, but those results may not always be reliable. That's why understanding these assumptions is often more important than simply memorizing formulas. Once you're comfortable with the basics, you'll come across some common problems that arise while working with regression models. For example, multicollinearity occurs when two independent variables are highly correlated and provide almost the same information. Heteroscedasticity occurs when the variability of errors changes instead of remaining constant. And autocorrelation is commonly observed in time series data, where errors become dependent on one another. Apart from these concepts, you should also be familiar with topics like R-squared, adjusted R-squared, p-values, hypothesis testing, interpretation of coefficients, dummy variables, interaction terms, logarithmic transformations, outliers, and model evaluation metrics. Don't worry if some of these terms sound unfamiliar right now. The purpose of this video is simply to give you an overview of the roadmap. In the upcoming videos, we'll discuss each of these topics individually and understand them in much greater detail. So, that's all for today's video. I hope this overview gave you a clear picture of what econometrics is and which topics are important from an interview perspective. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone preparing for data analytics or data science roles. Also, let me know in the comments which topic you'd like me to cover next. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and happy learning.